Ladies and gentlemen, this time is going to be dedicated for the YouTube segment, specifically for such topic as discussing and evaluating how good Lightning Trap Assassin is at Hell difficulty. Now, first things first. Well, my name is Alexander Wilson, the Sentry, and if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to leave a like, share the video, subscribe, and turn the post notification bell on if you want to keep those videos coming, especially for the future characters, those classes that I have not played with, because I'm going to be doing an in-depth discussion about various mechanics of those classes. For instance, when it comes to Lightning Trap Assassin and her performance on Hell difficulty, I will not going to do as much of an in-depth talk as I did for Nightmare difficulty. If you haven't checked that video out, make sure that you do so. It's going to be already uploaded on my YouTube channel, and it is available in the VOD format as well. So for a basic understanding of how Lightning Traps works, and what you should be looking for starting from Nightmare difficulty, you should check that video. In this video, I will be mostly focusing on what has changed, improved, or became worse when it comes to those skills on Hell difficulty. And like always, I will not going to touch upon gear aspect when it comes to whether or not you personally have a gear or not. If you have a gear, that's great. If you don't have a gear, that's all right, because I am going to be focusing strictly on the mechanical nuances of the skill and class in general. So that's pretty much it. Now, let's start with Shadow Discipline quickly. So, what changed specifically from Nightmare to Hell difficulty, you might ask? I would say not that much. I mean, Claw Mastery, just a filler to get it to Burst of Speed. Burst of Speed became better if you already was getting good at kiting enemies and at Nightmare difficulty, then it will be even easier for you to kite enemies on Hell difficulty, respectively, even those ones that have extra fast property on them. It's not that big of a deal when it comes to this skill. Its properties stayed pretty much the same. Psychic Hammer, just a filler to get to Cloak of Shadows. What can I say about Cloak of Shadows? Like I suspected, I have not found any good application for this skill. Don't get me wrong, when the skill actually works, it lowers the defense of the enemies. That includes those enemies are white ones and elite ones and champions, but not bosses. However, to pull this thing off, you would have to stay pretty much in melee range. Why you would want to do this for Lightning Trap Assassin? You are very proficient with this class. You are very proficient, even I should say like super proficient at kiting and keeping enemies at bay. Why would you want to go close to them? To lower their resistances and kill them slightly faster, but why risk it? Like, I don't understand. Maybe I'm looking at this like in the wrong way, or in the wrong sense, because the duration of it at this level lasts 18 seconds, so it's good because nothing will survive even without you having the best gear for 18 seconds outside of maybe bosses. But I still haven't used the skill at all. Like, it was just sitting there practically doing nothing for me. So you can leave your thoughts when this video goes live on MightyBrosky YouTube channel. You can leave your thoughts and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see... Personally, I haven't found that much of a usage for the skill on Hell difficulty. That was my experience. If you have had more experience with this class, if you use the skill extensively, and you can truly... bring some examples with how the skill works, like why it synergizes well with all your setup, you can leave your comments and explain why I should have been using the skill when I was leveling, or when I will be leveling her in the future when it comes to testing her abilities already post patch 2.4. So that's pretty much it. I don't have anything bad to say about the skill, but personally I haven't found any usage of it. So Cloak of Shadow, nice to have you, I suppose, but you don't give me that much of value anyway. But Mind Blast, oh boy. Yes, like you have seen, those of you who are following my playthrough either on stream or on YouTube, Mind Blast is like, this skill is, from my point of view, is one of the best skill for crowd control. Even though it doesn't trap enemies, it allows you to pretty much permanently stun lock them in animation. Even if you haven't mind controlled them and turned them into your allies, you can actually just, like I've said, non-stop stun slash stagger them pretty much until they will be dead, either by your merc, by yourself, by your party member, and so on and so forth. So this is like, this skill is great for, so like, especially for solo playthrough, is great. It's going to save your character, it's going to save your merc, it's going to save any of your ally. So in any dangerous situation, if you feel like you want to escape, maybe like shake off some of the nasty melee enemies from you, like those minotaurs who constantly turn you into hit recovery status, you can just pull off Mind Blast and they cannot counter it. Even the ones that have, you know, like this extra fast, or even those minotaurs when they are speeding up their attack speed with frenzy and double swing, you can prevent this by simply doing Mind Blast and in between placing some traps or doing something else like firing Fire Blast, letting your merc do its job when it comes to finishing those enemies. So Mind Blast, it's like, it's great. It became like, the value of Mind Blast from my point of view when it comes to hell difficulty, it's very high. Especially if you take into the account those enemies that are immune to lighting, you know, you're not going to do that much damage to them because lighting is first and foremost your primary damage type and secondary is fire. Keeping them at bay with Mind Blast, it's perfect. Like, a lot of the times you have seen from this playthrough, I could easily keep them at bay, even when, especially when it comes to Bale Waves farming, like, you can just make fun of them. You saw that I mind control like 3 or 4 of them and they just destroyed that elite guy, even though even though my merc was standing like 3 or 4 meters away, like, he couldn't get in, but those guys destroyed it easily. So for Bale runs, it's great. For campaign play, like it's great overall. I cannot say anything bad. It has a huge range, it has a very good effect, and I liked this. I like the skill. I liked and I will like the skill. Like, hopefully, when it comes to Future and Diablo 4, even though I know Rogue is not technically an assassin, I hope she gets something like this, something spammable that you can keep enemies at bay with and easily just kite them, outrun them, stagger, whatever the case. Because, like, I like the skill. Like, this skill is on par with how good, like, for Necromancer, how good Bone Prison is. This skill is on par with it. In some aspects it's even better because not only you're controlling enemies, you can actually prevent them from anything, legit anything. And if you're getting lucky, you're also converting them to your side. Not like super good skill on hell difficulty. Like, I have not expected how good it will be. So yeah, I'm done with Shadow Disciplines. Let's go towards the traps. Nothing in martial arts, by the way, so this tree can easily ignore it. Traps. Now, big elephant in the room, Fire Blast. 2 situations. I could say, I will say it up front, even though I said that I'm not going to talk about the gear too much. I will say, however, when you should be putting so much points that I have invested right now into this skill. In 2 circumstances, or in 2 situations. If your merc doesn't have infinity, or 2 situations, right? Yes, 2 situations. 1, excuse me. Only in 1 condition, if your merc doesn't have infinity. Why? Because Act 3 will going to be... No, actually two situations. If your Merc doesn't have Infinity, and second situation, if your Merc isn't geared from the top to the bottom with best installed gear. I'm talking about insanely good weapon, insanely good armor, insanely good helm with Life Leech. Because if you're not going to invest into Fire Blast, whenever you get to Act 3, like Act 1 and Act 2, yes, you'll get some lighting communes, but they are few and far in between, not too many of them you will encounter, and you can either bypass them or let your Merc do everything for you, like just keep the mind control and let the Merc kill you. But in Act 3, the amount of monsters, and especially elite packs with lighting commune, are insanely high. Higher than in any of those acts. So, if your Merc cannot kill them easily by himself, you should definitely, or if he doesn't have Affinity, you should definitely heavily invest into Fire Blast. Because with Fire Blast, it's relatively easy to get through Act 3, which is supposedly unbeatable if you don't have Infinity or if you're playing solo. With Trap Assassin, with Lightning Trap Assassin, by using Fire Blast, by investing so many points that I have invested, like 30 skill points, or actually I should say like I had it at 27 is because of the gear I have like at level 30. It's relatively easy to go through Act 3, even with Fire Immune. The only thing you have to worry about is when enemies have both like lighting and fire, then you would have to control them with Mind Blast and let your Merc finish the job. But everything else, council members, jungles, sewers, Cross Bazaar, whatever the case it might be, it's relatively easy to go if you invest into Fire Blast to go through it. Because additional element that I have noticed about the Fire Blast, I don't know if this is, I don't know if it's connected with the way with the level of the skill or just your gear, but the stagger effect is a huge benefit. This skill can stagger even the dangerous enemies from point blank range, from mid screen, from far away, and prevent them from doing anything. Examples would be Minotaurs. I don't know, haven't tested against Lost Souls, but let's just name those snakes with, what do you call it, Bone Spear, as well as some council members. Like, the stagger effect is insanely valuable. And because of this, because you can also spam it, because it has, like, whenever your gear gets naturally better, plus it has a huge range, you will have this fast enough attack speed. It will allow you to just spam it and kill those enemies quicker while your Merc is tanking and while you are also controlling the battlefield by firing in between your Fire Blast shots of Mind Blast. Like, you do this, you switch quickly, do this, then you switch quickly, do this. You get the idea. So because of the stagger, because of the benefits of the stagger, and because this is a very flexible tool that allows you to go through the beginning until the end of the campaign solo without relying on anyone's help, I cannot say anything bad about the skill. I was going to note like that this skill is not doing as much damage in comparison to Lighting Sentry, but that's something to be expected. It's your second. Any secondary damaging spell is going to do less damage, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just logical conclusion. So yeah, I cannot say anything bad about this spell. Like I've said, more in-depth mechanic about how you could utilize it, how you can actually preemptively fire those grenades in front of you when enemies are approaching you through the obstacles, you can find in my previous videos when I did the overview of this assassin for normal and nightmare difficulty. Here I'm just covering what has changed for hell. And yeah, the value of Fire Blast when it comes to hell difficulty is very, very big. I relied on it, I utilized it a lot. You have seen me doing it in this stream and previous stream when I had went from Act 1 until Act 2, from Act 2 until Act 4, and so on and so forth. So yeah, of course, another, like, why the damage gets, like, why this skill allows you to accumulate such high damage is something that I have not talked about when it comes to Nightmare difficulty overview. Look at the amount of synergy that it receives. Shockweb, it has it. Charged Bolt Sentry, it has it. Then Lighting Sentry, it also has it. Then Dead Sentry, it also has it. It also receives bonuses both from Wake of Fire and Wake of Inferno. So even if you not going to invest anything into those two, Wake of Fire and Wake of Inferno, because you invest so heavily into left side of the tree, like those skills that I have mentioned, and you put a lot of points into Fire Blast, you are going to be you're going to feel yourself very good on hell difficulty. Because, like I've said, like, it's second elemental damage type, and even if you don't have Infinity, it's not that big of a deal. If you do have Infinity, obviously those spare points will go directly into the synergy for your Lighting Sentry traps, and like I've said, for your ally or for your summon that you will unlock, which is Shadow Master. So, but I have not used it, I don't have Infinity, so I have used a different route. That's pretty much it. Shockweb, synergistic skill. I didn't use it, I don't know how it works. I only unlocked it because I know it's a synergy for Lighting Sentry and it gives damage boost. Same thing I can say about Charged Bolt Sentry. As far as Lighting Sentry goes, was there anything new that I have discovered when it comes to hell difficulty? Not really. It's the same stuff. You place them, you make sure that they don't hit obstacles, you can place them to lure enemies, you can place them to check if the enemies are present, so there is nothing totally new and different when it comes to this spell for hell difficulty. What about that Sentry, you might ask? Well, the only thing I will say that changed from normal to hell, it's its value, like, is its value. Value in terms of how much damage it will do when it comes to Corpse Explosion. Because the enemy's HP are getting higher, the value of it is getting bigger. That's pretty much it. Same thing with Necromancer's Corpse Explosion, by the way. And when it comes to everything else, yeah, pretty much nothing new for that Sentry that I have discovered exclusively on hell difficulty. Setups, maybe I can talk a little bit of setups. So if you want, like, you have seen with those Minotaurs and with other enemies that were lighting immune, I killed some of the enemies that were not lighting immune. I lured them towards those corpses when I preemptively placed dead sentries. I lured them how, you might ask? Well, there's two options, either by directly allowing them to follow you or by trying to convert them with your Mind Blast. And then with them, manually go towards this corpse, you wait there, you wait until this mind control effect is going to be gone, and then they will explode and die. So that's pretty much the only new trick or like setup that I was able to pull off when it comes to hell difficulty. Mechanically, pretty much everything stays the same. There is nothing new or unorthodox that I could say about that Sentry. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, all the coverage for those skills had been done. The coverage when it comes to what I have discovered when it comes to new site or new like element towards those mechanics. Once again, if you want, this is more for an advanced people, if you want basic understanding of how each individual skill works that I have just been talking about, starting from shadow disciplines and then covering traps, you should definitely check. I think it's in this way. I'm going to leave a link to the previous video. You should definitely check the video on Nightmare difficulty for a Nightmare difficulty overview of Assassin when I covered her abilities on the base level, the ones that I had been talking about. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, for this coverage I pretty much finished everything for this overview of this class. What can I say? as some words of conclusion, like, do I recommend you to play with this class? Absolutely. Especially if you like kiting enemies, if you like fighting and killing them from afar, if you enjoy mind controlling them, if you also enjoy a huge bonus is flexibility, because you will not be tied. Like, if you don't have gear, you are not tied strictly to one element. You have lightning, you have fire, you have physical damage, you have mind control. With your merc, like in combination, it will allow you to persevere and clear everything. You just have to keep in mind those tips that I had given to you about the Fire Blast, about its importance for hell difficulty if you don't have Infinity, and you'll be good to go. Like, legit, you don't... I think, like, with this class, if you exclude deaths that I had, like, I died 2 times. Once I died in Act 3 when I thought that it will be a good idea to not invest heavily into Fire Blast. I failed. I respect, and I would, because of this, because of how much I invested into Fire Blast, I beat Act 3 relatively easy. And I died on cow level because I was too lazy on this stream. Like, I legit forgot, I had forgotten to click on Healing Potion. Compare this to maybe, like, with Necromancer, I died more than, I think 3 or 4 times, but with him I was rarely ever using Bone Prison, so I play unsafe and rush down style. Even though it's not recommended, even though he has instruments, like with him I died more, but I think, like, she, as well as Bone Necro, because of their flexibility, like, they can go toe-to-toe with each other in terms of how good they are. But generally speaking, this is a very good class to start with. I like her more than Elemental Druid, aka Tornado Druid, way more, because she, despite the fact that even if you encounter, like, lightning immune enemies, you still have more than enough damage from your Fire Blast, and you can control them with Mind Blast. And with this and your Merc's power, you can overpower them way faster in comparison to Tornado Druid, which suffers from Cold Immune, Tornado Swiffing, and factors that he have to stay close to the enemy and kill them, but he doesn't create, or he doesn't do insane amount of damage. So that's that. With her, you will feel much more safer, that's for sure. And it's a good class with which you can start new season. I have heard, like I've said, that there's going to be a new season on the horizon, maybe next month, maybe it will happen in 2 months. I don't know the exact date, but if you think about starting a new playthrough or a new season with this class, you will not regret it. Like I've said, the flexibility, her mobility, especially if you're good at kiting, everything combined is going to allow you to relatively easy play through all of the campaign areas and start farming for gear. Yes, she doesn't have teleport. Yes, she has to find, like many other classes, either use the staff or find Enigma at the end of the day, but first you have to get to that point, to get to farming. And I think that her flexibility and just the ease of play with which you can do so, it's a good candidate for you to consider if you're thinking about, like, what classes should you pick, with which to start with your season, or just in general new playthrough. How do I rate her in comparison to my other classes, you might ask? Well, tricky question. I'd say that she will be on the 2nd place when it comes to mobility, only losing to Sorceress, because teleport exists. But she shares the 2nd place with Necromancer because of, like I said, flexibility and not relying heavily on gear. Even though she receives huge bonuses from all the gear pieces that she has, if you're good at kiting, you don't need it. Like, my resistances was way lower than something that you had right now, like, for the most part of hell difficulty, and I still got through it. But I have seen some people are obsessed by having everything like maxed out or overcapped like 75% at everything, otherwise your hell difficulty will be impossible. No. This is a stereotype, and it's false because it's false for casters. Let's just say it like this: for casters who excels at medium range or far range combat, because there's going to be a lot of room. There's going to be flexibility involved with the way how you kite enemies, how you position yourself. They don't take into account because they just want to face tank everything. You don't need to do this with her. Like I said, burst of speed. You have seen that some even extra fast enemies were having a hard time catching up with me. That's pretty much it. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be it for the overview of this class. And once again, if you have any kind of comments about the way how I have explained those advanced techniques, you can leave them in the comment section once this video goes live on our MightyBrosky YouTube channel, link to which you will find in the separate tab section below the Twitch player. And also, don't forget, like I've said at the beginning, to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel, plus turn the post notification bell on if you don't want to miss out any of the future videos. And yep, I'm done, and see you in the next video. Peace.